Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a Sunday night of chatting, ranting, and maybe even painting a little bit. So, we will continue with the Monster Hunters that we started about, well, last time. I can't remember, it's a week ago or so. These two here. I didn't get very far because I got sidetracked by a lot of talking. Uh, but as you know, that's how it usually goes here. So, but anyway, it's again some miniatures from Malifaux, as you also know if you're new, but if you're just tuning in, Malifaux is a small skirmish game set in a really bizarre and crazy world where you have anything from Victorian style burlesque dancers to unspeakable horrors, from your worst nightmares to kung fu Shaolin style monks, um, and a lot of other things. There's what else do we have? We have the faction I'm painting here. I have some of the almost finished models that show a little bit more about what we're dealing with. They are called the Family from the Guild faction, and basically they are sort of kind of a law enforcement thing, but their style is mainly sort of a classic Wild West style, and they run around trying to catch these previously mentioned unspeakable horrors. Shouldn't mention unspeakable horrors, by the way. I think that is a bad move. But anyway, these two here are actual monster hunters, whereas the other guy I showed is a pistolero. They have a couple of name characters as well. So anyway, my color scheme with these are Woheen. Yeah, speaking of unspeakable horrors. So yeah, hi all. I think you and I are all at the moment. Also, where did my music disappear off to? It probably disappeared off to being in between songs. Anyway, the music, if it decides to show up again, is, as always, the wonderful Adrian von Ziegler, who makes some really nice atmospheric music. And yeah. But anyway, last time, my thought for the dress here, my color scheme is brown, dark brown, skin color of some kind, silver stuff for the weapons, and khaki pants. But since she's not wearing pants, but this very lovely dress, which is, by the way, pretty awesome. You're out hunting unspeakable horrors. I should wear a flowing dress because that's just style. And I thought about doing it with something similar to the capes on these dudes here, simply just made with contrast paint. And I considered plopping in the red. Let's see, this one here is a little bit more obvious. I like to have a little bit of red in them as well, because I think it's not really in contrast to the rest of it. It's a pretty dark scheme, all things considered. But I do like the way it works together. Plus, these guys are not out to be seen; they're actually out to be hunting stuff and chasing down things. And you may want to go a little bit sort of incognito, keeping a low profile. So you don't want to round with, I don't know, purple hair or fluorescent hats or whatever. So I wanted to when I was looking at the female monster hunter over here, I was trying to figure out where to place the red on her model to incorporate that color, because it's kind of my, well, not uniform, but sort of dress code for these people here. And there's not really a lot on her. I could have done for the accessories like I've done with a lot of the other ones, like the holster, the bandoliers. I could have made those red and then a little bit of metal where the bullets are. But basically, she's only wearing her dress, so bandoliers, two revolver or pistol holsters, and the rifle on her back. So there's not a lot of color on her. I consider making her hair red just to go in a completely different color or different direction. But at the same time, I figured that might be sort of overdoing it because it has sort of a thing. But it is, it's a very cool figurine. Boheen, when you get your models and start painting them, you're gonna love them and you're gonna hate them. So actually, the red dress I don't have any blue in any of the other models, which would be cool because you would really get something that stands out. But I'm actually trying to sort of stay within the same color theme without making it like a uniform, because they have so different clothes on. I mean, even the bandolier, even the the pistoleros here are quite different. You see, they're quite differently dressed. I mean, they have the huge cape and they have the hats and guns, maybe a sword. That's kind of what brings them together. But they don't have the same kind of guns. They don't have them placed the same same position. So yeah. So I figured, why not go all in on this model here and just do the dress in full on red, and we'll see how it goes. So I also considered actually doing sort of mixing a kind of contrast color. I know Goobertown Hobbies have some videos where he does that and try to mimic. I mean, the contrast colors is a new product from Citadel. Well, it's 2 years old or so now, close to 2 years old. June 19, I think. But the concept of making a sort of thick, non-watery. Oh yeah, I'll let you know next time I order anything Malifaux related, and I'm sure we can figure something out. No sense in both of us paying shipping and packaging. So yeah, sure, I will let you know. No, but he talks about that it's something people have used, not a lot. I mean, you have the army painter, you know, the dipping method that's been used a lot, where you just give the base coat and you dip it into something that's basically colored varnish. That works really well. But actually sort of producing differently colored or different colors with the contrast or sort of dipping style effect built into them is, at least from Citadel, it's a new thing. I don't know if there are other products on the market already. What do I know? I don't know anything about markets and stuff like that. Not that much, at least. But he mixes up a few, just using some matte medium, some water, and of course the colors. And to get the same shade of red as the others, I figured I might blend up some of that. Hey, Pladio! Thank you for joining. Where's her lack of sleeves on this one? That's there. So yeah. Any what's up, Bill? How are things over across the pond? By the way, Wohin, if you haven't heard from Panda, our friendly guru friend, we're playing the crew when I'm done painting. If you want in, let us know. Bill says that things are good. It's a very mild Sunday. Snow and ice is all melting. That's cool. I think we had the usual 1 week of winter. No, actually, we had a pretty long stretch with cold weather, and then we got some snow and some ice, and then now it's all gone again, pretty much. We hit. When was that? When was this week? We actually hit above 10 degrees centigrade. So within less than a week, we went from -10, -12 at night to +11 or 12 in day. Not on the same night, but it's just the general temperature just rose up again really quickly. So it looks like winter is pretty much over for us. Oh, Bill, you subscribed. Thank you. Can someone please? That means you, Wayne, or Bill yourself. Can someone give Bill a shout out in chat? And yeah, 4 days of snow a year. Well, we had maybe a little bit more because it was actually cold enough for the snow to stay for a few days. But yeah, it's really lovely. So yeah, for the first time in many years, I've actually been out on lakes, on frozen lakes this year. There we go. Shout out to Bladio22, who is the absolutely best person at finding his way to pad number 3. That is a very, very internal joke from Bill's early days as a streamer and early days playing Star Citizen. So yeah, no, but I digressed again because that's what I do. I spoke about painting and trying to mix my own paints or sort of contrast style paints for this specific nuance of red or tone of red. But I decided against it because I didn't want to do the whole it has to flow in just the right way and all that. So I'm just gonna paint it like normal and then shade it down with black and then highlight it back up. Yeah. And I mean, I gotta say, I'm a little bit on Bill's side with the whole pad 3 thing. Because the thing is that in Star Citizen, when Bill started playing it, which was before I played it for a little while, you'd run to this console near the docks. And you would ask to have your ship brought up. And it would say, yeah, sure, it is on pad 3 or pad 4 or pad a bazillion or whatever. But you couldn't actually see anywhere where your ship was. So you have to remember that. And if you're just sort of running through the menus and just auto-clicking every button you see because you just want to get your ship and you're just running to the elevator and you go, wait, where did it say my ship was? Pad 2, pad 3, whatever. And even though you can actually see a marker showing in which direction your ship is and how far away it is, like that direction, 1500 meters, it doesn't give you any sort of real clue as to where it is until you get a lot closer. And it definitely doesn't give you any clue about which floor to take the elevator to and all that. So, hey, Corpse Throat, thank you for lurking. How are things up in Norway? I hope they're good. I mean, Norway usually have a lot more snow than we do down here in Denmark, so I can never really figure out if I'm actually jealous of that or not, because I really love taking long walks in the snow and just everything being completely covered in white. But at the same time, snow is a little impractical. And as some of you know, I, for various reasons, didn't take my driver's license until about 7 or 8 months ago, and got a car real soon after. So this is my first winter with a car, and this whole having to set aside even just 5-10 minutes to scrape ice off all your windows, that's impractical. And Modifian is here as well. Yeah, it's a really nice crowd then. What's up with you, Modif? So yeah, so no, snow is absolutely wonderful if you're just sitting at home and taking long walks outside once in a while. It's very impractical if you actually have to go anywhere, or if you rely on public transport. Our trains here in Denmark, or the company running it, are infamously known for saying that they've got everything sorted out, everything's covered, they're good to go this winter. And of course, this is a gross generalization and exaggeration. They're actually fairly good, but they're sort of infamous for going oh yeah, we got it covered this year. And the first time there's the least bit of snow in the air, 2 snowflakes in the air, and the trains break down and they can't drive. And there's ice on the the electrical wires that the train stores electricity from. I don't know what they're called. Oh, Tone Deaf! Rating with a party of 7. Thank you! That is absolutely awesome. Thanks for joining in. How have your stream been and how is everyone? Oh, wow. Oh, I need to set up my... Bill, I actually like your help at some point setting up Nightbot to not do that. I mean, people spamming emotes is the least of my worries, especially because... Anyway, welcome Raiders, thank you for joining. I am sure that Bill or Bladio had a spectacular array of emojis all lined up for you. But since I suck at configuring my bots, yeah, well, it happens. But yeah, Bladio, I'll take you up on that at some point when I'm not live. When I'm alive, not live. So yeah, so welcome, welcome to my little stream here. We're painting monster hunters from the game Malifaux, if you've heard of that. And we're just talking about random stuff, usually role-playing games related or games related in general. On that note, my role-playing group, I've got them sort of hooked on Eldritch Horror, the board game, which I obviously think is a really cool thing because it's been a little hard getting them that interested in board games, but they really liked it, a couple of them, so that is cool. So we played it yesterday and had a spectacular loss to Shub-Niggurath. Shub-Niggurath is the goat with 1,000 young. If you know your old death metal songs, like Morbid Angel, you'll know all the old Cthulhu, Lovecraftian horror demon names as well. They featured a lot in some of their lyrics. But we just... Eldritch Horror is a really cool game. I've not tried the new Arkham Horror board game, Bill. Thanks, Tone Deaf. You're gonna get lunch, and you're also gonna get some Lovecraft. That sounds like a pretty cool thing. Or you're gonna get lunch in the Lovecraftian style, so you'll be eating people, eating their souls. Either is fine with me. So yeah, but Bill, Eldritch Horror, the board game, is really cool. I've never tried the Arkham Horror board game, but I'm currently running through one of the campaigns for Arkham Horror, the collectible card game, or living card game, as Fantasy Flight calls their series like this. And both games are fantastic, and I've heard really good things about Arkham Horror's the 3rd edition of Arkham Horror, the board game, but I've yet to try it. And I considered actually getting it for the group. Eating people confirmed from Tone Deaf. That sounds cool. Have a great night, Tone Deaf. Thanks for dropping by. Thank you for the raid. That was sweet of you. So yeah. But on the other hand, I mean, I just got them hooked on Eldritch Horror. So I'm figuring it might be a good idea to just... Ooh, nice emojis, Tone Deaf. Love it. So I figured, why not just stay in the game? Because as one of them mentioned, a guy I've been playing role-playing games with for 20 years or so by now, as he mentioned, there's so much going on in this game, and due to the random nature of drawing different encounters and all that, and playing with different investigators, no two games are ever the same. And the randomness is not... Well, there's dice rolling, so if you don't like dice rolling, it's not going to be a game for you. But the randomness is not it's random if you win or lose. It's in the what happens during the game, even if you play against the same ancient one. So that is really, really nice game design there by, she called Nikki Valens. Probably mispronounced that. But yeah, really, really cool game design. But I figured instead of trying to push another game to some people who were already a little hard to get started on board games in general, I figured why not just get an expansion or two for Eldritch Horror. We've been playing with the Forsaken Lore expansion, because that's when I started looking into the expansions, that's the one everyone just says, get Forsaken Lore immediately. It's so cool, adds a lot to the game without disturbing anything. Yeah, the 4-party mode, Bill, that's some advanced emoji going on right there. No, so Forsaken Lore adds some things like, one thing we've really come to love and hate at the same time are the Dark Pacts. Dark Pacts are conditions you get once in a while, either as part of messing up or to give you some kind of bonus or completing tasks, goals, whatever. During the game, you can do the whole, yeah, sure, this and that. You can, if you take a Dark Pact, you can close this gate that spawns monsters into your world and just go, no, I don't want the Dark Pact, because Dark Pacts are really bad when they actually come to the part where you have to live up to your Dark Pact. It usually means that either you die or you have to choose someone else to die, which is actually worse than dying yourself, because then you have to look around at your friends, your fellow investigators trying to solve this mystery, and just point at one of them and say, yeah, I'm gonna sacrifice you, because I kind of made a mistake when I was younger, and now someone has come to claim the prize, and yeah, well, it's nice knowing you, bye bye. So yeah, that's a bit rough and brutal, but then again, we are talking about ancient ones, great old gods sleeping in the Pacific Ocean. So that's one thing the Forsaken Lore expansion gives you, which is really nice, because they're there, there are effects that can give them, and when you have them, that they can be triggered by a lot of different things. But yeah, I really like the game design in this game. I'm probably doing a bad job at keeping things in focus. Sorry about that. That's when I get excited talking about games and painting at the same time. Then I'm a bit like what's called the project pyramid, where you have speed, quality, and price. Usually high quality, quick speed, whatever, and low price. You can have two, but not the other one, because it has to balance out. That's bad reference. That's bad comparison. But anyway, instead of just getting Arkham Horror for my gamers, I figured I would just get some expansions. So the next time we play, hopefully, if it arrives in time, which it should, because we'll not be playing for another 2 weeks or so, we will probably be going to the pyramids and see how it goes there. But anyway, yesterday, after losing quite spectacularly to Shub-Niggurath. Hey Emily, welcome! After losing to Shub-Niggurath yesterday, we ate a nice, I'm not gonna say healthy dinner, a nice large dinner, and then we actually took on Cthulhu itself. Good old Tulu. And we actually succeeded. We pretty much handed his ass to him, which was surprising in this style of game. I don't know, Emily, have you played Eldritch Horror, the board game? I don't think there are other than the board game. But anyway, we actually managed to fend off Cthulhu I'm actually gonna say quite easily. It was helped by a little bit of luck with the dice and a little bit of luck with the Mythos face or Mythos cards that were quite helpful. I think more helpful than they usually are. They'll also always have a little bit of bad stuff to them. The specifics, we took the soldier and weren't that happy with him. We took Lily Chen, I can't remember, the martial artist. We had the politician, Charlie Kane, Citizen Kane. I always think of him as Citizen Kane. And the last one was Jacqueline, who is the psychic. She's the one who gets clues when other people get conditions, non-common conditions, which is kind of cool. And then we basically just took it from there. We got lucky in the beginning, but also in the other game we'd had, with Shub-Niggurath, you get a lot of monster spawns all the time, and we didn't really have enough beaters on the board to actually fight off the monsters, and that is what killed us pretty quickly. But with Cthulhu, and I am very sure we did not miss any critical rules. The game is Eldritch Horror, Wohin, the board game. Yeah. And basically the thing is that we may have been lucky with some of the mysteries that fit the group quite well, because in Eldritch Horror, this quick recap for people is you draw a mystery that is specific to the ancient one you're up against, which means that you'll also always get something that is thematically in place. And when the first one we got was actually going to Rüli, or however you want to pronounce the sunken city, where, according to the Lovecraftian legends, where Cthulhu sleeps until the stars are aligned and he wakes up and so on, blah blah blah. Usual greater demon ancient prophecy style thing. So the first one was basically just to run down there and close the portal that is down there. And I basically ran down there with Lily Chen, and she had pretty decent stats to it, and I got a bonus or card, an asset that allowed me to reroll a single dice on any test, I think it was. So that helped me. I also pretty early in the game got another asset that allowed me to add an extra dice. Both of these are once per round. Add a single die to a single test, which is a huge thing in this game. It really changes your odds of succeeding. So I pretty easily came through the first mission, or mystery as they're called. And then after that we just basically ran around, and in the end, which also helped us, we had a mystery where we had to go to places where a specific token has spawned on the map. You're playing on a world map, and then after that you have to make a specific test or whatever in that place. Do a brief combat with a deep one, as they're called. Nothing big, nothing fancy. And me and the other beater brawler style, the soldier, whatever his name is, Mark something, I think. We just went to in the same turn. We went to one spot each. Killed off the deep one as we're supposed to do. We had the clues to actually then do whatever you need to progress the mystery. And then we had a Cthulhu itself had an effect that spawned those same tokens in the exact same spot we were in, which means that all we had to do was just stand still and just at the end of the next turn do the same again. Oh, cops, you picked a color. I just need to catch up with Wohin saying that Eldritch Horror, the board game, that explains it. I always think of the power level of the role-playing game. So you surviving any encounter with the dude surprised me. The dude would be Cthulhu. Yeah, in the role-playing game, you basically see Cthulhu, and if you're lucky, you die. If you're not so lucky, you live to tell the tale. So turquoise. Now I'm a bit well, turquoise it is. She's gonna get turquoise hair. But turquoise, we need to go down towards a little bit of... I don't have an actual turquoise here. The closest I have is this electric blue, which is nowhere near turquoise because it doesn't have any green to it. But that is not gonna stop me from... No, because she's not gonna get blue here. She is gonna get turquoise. Now I'm gonna do a quick little test to see if I can... Yeah, I think I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go crazy here. Well, Waheen, if you look at the channel points, painting points as I've so imaginatively called it, down below, down next to where you type in the chat messages, you should be able to pick a color. And yeah, by all means, abuse it. That's what it's there for. So, okay, we're gonna make a little bit of room over here. Now we're gonna be playing with colors. Ah, thank you. Thanks, Corpse. Ah, okay, my camera is actually hanging upside down, which makes it a little bit difficult, and I also get way too much light on these colors here. Can this? No, that doesn't really help. That helps a little bit. I'll get the interface. So, well, turquoise, I'm not overly good at all these things. Now, turquoise, would that be somewhere along this? Sort of a bluish thing with some green in it, I think. Of course, Cops, you chose the one you like the least. But anyway, we now have some of the electric blue, and I'm going to mix that in with some fluorescent green to see what we come up with. It looks like it needs a lot more green than blue. And this is again down to stuff like pigments and blah blah blah. So how we... Okay, you cannot see any color difference here at all. To be honest, there isn't much color difference. But have no fear, because we have a yellow. Just need to shake it up a little bit to work better. Yes, I bite my brushes. Let's get some... I mean, as long as it's just in the palette, we can do anything. And just see where it goes. Oh, this is beginning to look like... It's beginning to look like something. But we have... Emily is actually really good at art as well. Just does some really cool graphics design. So we have a lot of people here who should be able to tell us a little bit about whether I hit a decent turquoise or not. Yeah, I tried mixing it in with some blue, some yellow. Sorry. But let's see what we have. Try it out on paper. So let's also not use this brush. Let's use this one instead. Now, to give this thing here, cannot see that. We are over here. This is not going well. Lighting is a little bit off, but hopefully you'll get a feeling for this being, as I call fluorescent green. And then we have the blue. You see here, that's more sort of a light blue. Yeah, and Corp says that to make turquoise you need double the green versus blue. That kind of makes sense. It's also what I'm seeing here. But this one here, gonna be impossible to replicate, is still kind of turquoise, I guess. It's a little bit on the green side now. I think the last bit of yellow did that. So we'll just add a little bit of green. Sorry, a little bit of blue. Send it over towards that. And I think we have something that's cool. now we ended here to the extent that you can see it, and it is a lot greener in real life than it is on screen. I think we're getting there. We can pull this up differently. I'm just trying to get it to do the light a little bit better. It's probably something to do with the camera and light, white balancing and all that. Anyway, corpse wanted turquoise, so we're gonna go for turquoise. But first, a drink of water, and that goes for you as well. Remember to hydrate. There's a bias. How could I forget that corpse exists? I mean, you cannot forget people with such a great beard as Corpse Throat. I mean, us bearded guys gotta stick together. Yeah, gluck, gluck, gluck. That was my, that's actually a potion of hydration, which is a new item that my absolutely completely non-existent inside sources with Wizards of the Coast have told me will be in the next version of whatever. I'm trying to make a joke, didn't work. But the idea was to say this is a potion of hydration. When you drink it, you get hydrated. And they actually include the components for making the potion itself is that you just need to have some dehydrated water. Then you add water, and you have, yeah, water. The dehydrated water is actually an old joke from the very old computer game called Space Quest. Can't remember if it's Space Quest 1 or 2. I think it was Space Quest 2, where you actually run around with a bottle of dehydrated water, and thirst is a thing in that game. This is the old Shera style adventure games like King's Quest and a little bit like Police Quest, though that was its own. So we're talking back in the... Hey, Modifian! Thank you for resubscribing. Love you. But yeah, Space Quest 2 confirmed by Wohin. And when was that? It must have been... guessing? Early 90s. So a long time ago, about 30 years ago, give or take. So long ago that a few years doesn't mean much. But you just had this bottle of dehydrated water, and the trick was to find some water, pour it into the bottle of dehydrated water, and then you would have water, and then you weren't thirsty anymore. Which absolutely makes no sense and has sort of no real impact on the game. It's the mechanics of the game, because you could just have had a bottle and found some water to put into it. But I love jokes like that. I really, really love it because it just shows so much humor and a willingness for game designers to just go nuts, go crazy, and add silliness to the game without being sort of slapstick humor, stupidly silly. It's actually kind of sort of makes sense because it is, yeah, powdered water. Yeah, I mean I think that's what they're doing. Like when you have freeze-dried coffee, for instance, the instant coffee thing. I just realized, Corpse, I could have gotten off with this turquoise a lot easier because I just now realized that she has a flower in her hair. I could just have made that turquoise. But she's going all fairy haired, I guess. That's a fantasy thing with this hair. Yeah, and Wohin says that making sense wasn't a staple of that game series, though. That is true. But at least they consistently didn't make sense. Not sure that's a good thing, though. So yeah. Nope, missed a spot. So yeah. Yeah, I love the old Shera games with, what was her name? Roberta Williams? I think the designer, programmer, whatever. Oh, Bill, thank you. Hang on, I just need a little bit of water in the paint. That's probably too much water. It's just getting the consistency of paint just right is still something I'm struggling a little bit with, because this whole thing, when you start miniature painting today, everyone will say thin your paints, because it's a really good advice. But back when I learned to paint back in the 90s, we didn't do that. We just painted straight from the pot. So just getting the exactly right consistency is still something I'm learning. Not as such struggling with. That would be admitting failure, but definitely something I'm working on. Yeah. And now I have completely forgotten where I was, because I got distracted by blending up or mixing up a turquoise. I got distracted by dehydrated water, Space Quest 2. Yeah, I don't know. Probably not important. So I will instead try and come up with what type of shading I want to do with the turquoise hair. I mean, it could. I have a feeling that black might actually work. But I don't want to risk the hair going all sort of grubby looking, like it can sometimes do when you add the black shades. Um, Black shades are really like Citadel's Nuln Oil wash shade. Can't remember what they call it. So that's kind of cool. I gotta say, Corpse, I really like this hair on her so far. I think it might actually just work really well. A little bit down here. So yeah, Bill is a bit delayed because his internet was acting up. And again, gotta give it, I have so many awesome people, they own their own internet. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So anyway, I think it shows, the color shows a little bit better. And as I said before, I've actually mounted my camera upside down, so it's sometimes a little tricky figuring out what way to move things. I think you might actually see it a little bit better. I think this qualifies as turquoise. If not, well, who cares? So yeah, that's turquoise. Still need a little bit of, while that is drying out, I just need to finish up the dress. Now the inside here is the kind of area I actually hate to paint, because it's very large. There's almost no texture to it. It's really, it's wavy, but there's no texture, no sort of small details. So having to apply a sort of fairly even coat is gonna take probably a few more layers. Plus, since I'm also using zenithal highlights to give a little better sort of shading effect or pre-shading effect on the model. The underside here was pretty dark to begin with, almost black, and painting red is tricky enough due to something to do with the pigments. They don't cover as well, but painting red over black is horrible. So any little small mistake will be very visible, and since the red doesn't really cover that well, it's going to take a lot of layers. You can see the brush strokes here in the first couple of layers I'm giving it. And to add insult to injury, or maybe just make it worse in general, it's also a little bit tricky to actually get to the area because of the way the model is built. So, I mean, this here. But on the other hand, as I always try to say, these miniatures are painted to be tabletop ready. They are not going into any kind of contest or anything like that. It just has to look good at, say, at arm's length. Oh, hey, John. Oh, you're playing Robinson Crusoe tonight. That is absolutely wonderful. Someone give a shout out to the Incorrigible Party. We just do an IP. I'll do that myself. Go take a look at them. Tonight in about 3 hours, they will be playing the next mission or continuing a mission, I don't know, on Robinson Crusoe, as they just said. They are lovely people, wonderful people, and in addition to streaming games, the Incorrigible Party also has a really cool D&D podcast called the Incorrigible Party Podcast. And I swear someday I will be able to say that quickly without breaking my tongue. But yeah, if you like D&D, if you like good storytelling, if you like suspense, if you like backstabbery, if you like all those wonderful things, you should go check them out and listen to the podcast. Well, Bill, I would not give you the support if it wasn't because you have given me literally hundreds of hours of good quality entertainment. Someone I worked with actually once said that I should have been in sales because we were trying to pitch something to a client and I was there as the technical guy. I work in software development. This was many years ago. And after the meeting with the customer, this guy just said, oh, you should be in sales, man. You sold that so well. And he just went, no, I shouldn't, because I can only do this about things I'm passionate about and really love. And we had a really cool product and doing some stuff and all that, something I believed in, which is basically means that I didn't sell it. I just explained how it works. I would not be able to do that with a product I didn't believe in. So no, I should not be in sales. If I had been, I would just, in other situations, I would just have told the customer or client that you shouldn't buy our product because it sucks. So that's not how you close a sale, I think. What do I know? Maybe it is. So yeah. So anyway, on to model here. Now, as is possible, maybe visible in here, you can see that the black and the red, it's not an even dark red. It's some places it's a brighter red, sometimes places the black shows up more. In here, if you're looking at it from the right angle, you can just about see the shade in between her left foot. That's actually still almost entirely black. But again, the miniatures are going to be looked at like this, so it doesn't matter. The only reason I'm doing this, this part here, is that it will actually be a little bit more visible when moving the miniature around in games. So yeah. But as always, the trick with painting like this is to just add more thin coats. Lots and lots of thin coats, and eventually it will cover well enough, or you will just be lazy enough to not give it any more coats, and then you're done. You can move on to other things, other ways of wasting your time. Another reason why I don't care too much about this not covering completely is again the cenital highlight method for doing the pre-shading. Actually builds on the concept that the model is lit from above. The quick version is that you start by coating your miniature all black, and then you give it lighter and lighter, so we can hit this, shades of white, just gently on top. I do not have anything here. Maybe you can still see it on this guy. So if you look at him from the top, very white. If you look at him more from the bottom, still see that there are some dark areas like underneath his arm here. That is not me painting it black afterwards. That's just because I only painted, gray first and then up. You couldn't see that. I painted gray first and then going up to black. Oh, sorry, up to white. So that helps with defining the miniature. And it will also mean that the black that's underneath here is supposed to be darker than the red up here. Basically. Anyway, you get the point. I'm not good at explaining it today, but I'm sure you get it. So, why don't we... Corpse, you actually did really well, I have to say, with the turquoise. That was a good call. Probably not what you want to hear, but it works. Yeah. That is actually pretty true. We have primary red. I mean, this one here, I think it's faded or something, but I mean, you can still, I don't see this does look a lot more like a dark brown than an actual red, so I need a new one. But you're not wrong that, would have a turquoise would be around here, which is pretty much straight over complementary from red. So that's true. That's true. In the meantime, we're getting ready to add some skin tone, just really quickly. I'm just doing that while I like to color in all the base colors before I start doing shading. Oh, of course, color theory, that's cool. I know a little bit, but that's mainly just what I've picked up painting miniatures. So yeah, but yes, it was a good call with the turquoise. And Corpse, right, going all the way complementary means you limit the rest of what you're going to paint. In what way limit? I didn't quite catch that. Sorry. That's me being a little dense tonight. And Corpse say going for close to means you can change up some colors. Okay, let's say you want to go for complementary colors. You go from red to straight green or just flat green. And next color would be red again. Okay, so you just switching back and forth. Whereas if you go for something like red towards yellow, then you can sort of mix it up in between or what? I'm trying to learn here while painting and being moderately entertaining. Okay, so basically if you do go from a color to its complementary color, then when you switch over to something else, you wouldn't go in a completely different direction. You go back to the original color. Gotcha. Sort of. I did try looking into it at some point and read some descriptions. And maybe my Google search was just a little off. I was unlucky or whatever. But I found a page sort of describing the color wheel, color theory, and they ended up just saying, and then you can either just do complementary, or you can go, do a triangle, like for instance, taking the three primary colors, or you can make a square, or you can take one color as the one you want to have your main color, and then just do the ones directly to the side of it. And I just went, wait, so basically they're just saying you can do whatever you want to do. Then, of course you can, but they didn't go that much into what different effects would be. So I didn't really get that much from that page. So yeah. I should look more into that at some point. And yes, I kind of have to support the miniature here quite a bit for me at least, more detailed parts, because my hands are normally quite shaky, but today they are extremely shaky. Not sure why. But anyway, it's all good. Now, having shaking hands just means that you learn all the small tricks that you can use for keeping a miniature steady between your hands. One of them is resting everything on a solid surface, like my table here. So like the flower here, it was purple. How would that look in the end? Oh, now you're asking me questions. So that would be going, from the red back up to the turquoise, and almost but not quite back to the red. So that would be not good, I guess, because that would be in sort of the wrong direction. You would need to maybe make it yellow instead. Would that work? Is that did I understand it correctly then? Cool. So I guess we know what color the flower is gonna be. And Modifian also says yellow for the flower. Well, then definitely yellow. So we will get to that just after me finishing up the arm here. Oh, by the way, some of you might remember that a few weeks ago I did a stream where I took some of the battle systems cardboard terrain sets and started putting them together. I finished all of that this weekend, and they look really, really great. So for the next games, I have way too much terrain to even fit on the board. I think we just took all the ones I got from the large set. I don't think we have any room for the models. which with my very poor track record at this game might actually just be a sensible thing to do. Now, the thing is, as I also say, when I was a kid, I never really learned to think about the strategy in games. I learned all the rules and all the sort of technical, mechanical aspects, like this piece moves like that. I mean, chess was really easy for me to understand the basics of how to moving the pieces around because that was not a big deal. But understanding good tactics in chess is just something no one ever taught me, and I didn't think to look for it myself. Because I mean, when you're a kid, yeah, you get curious sometimes, which is great. But other times, like with me and these games, you just don't really think about that. There's tactics to learn. You just played some chess and usually lost, and then it was boring, and I didn't play it anymore. And I didn't have like a grandma teaching me all the intricacies of this, or an uncle, or doing all of the this is how you should think about how they cover different areas of the board and stuff like that. I never learned that. I just basically learned chess by getting an introduction to how all the pieces move. I must have been what 7 or 8 at the time, and started playing, and that was not really good. So understanding later on, I mean, understanding tactical games is a little hard because I never really trained my brain to think like that, and rewiring it as an adult has for me been a bit of an experience or a challenge. But I'm trying to learn. Of course, playing with a guy who's been, I actually only play Malifaux with one other friend, and he's been playing this for years, including a period where he played, I would say, at least one game a year one game per week for a few years. Often more than one game per week. So he knows all the different strengths and weaknesses of the different models. He knows the tactics, what is useful. I mean, he can look at a board in ways I can't do yet. So that probably also has a little bit of influence on the outcome of our matches. But that being said, it is one of the games where there are so many small stories going on inside the game that even when losing, I generally have a really good time because there's just so much going on, and you can do weird effects that's just fun. But it is a little bit of a niche game. The models are by no means cheap. Um, I think getting what's known as a keyword, which is basically all the models that fit together, but will give you more models than you need for putting a single crew together. I think that would usually cost you around £100. It would be close to $140, I guess. And you could probably get by with around $100 worth of miniatures, but that's still kind of steep for getting into a game. That's a big buy-in. On the plus side, the rule book is freely available as a PDF, so you don't have to buy the rules. You just download it and read it, and you don't need special dice or anything like that. You need some tokens or markers of some kind, but they are generics. Like you have a focus token, you can basically use anything. The guy I'm playing with are using different colored sort of plastic gems to signify different effects and conditions. So that's cool enough. You don't need anything for the actual game itself. You just need to buy the miniatures. Terrain, as always, you can just use books as hills or whatever. You can use some fluffy cotton for a small what's it called, some small wood or some trees or whatever, just to mark it off where that is. Stuff like that. That's sort of the cheap way of getting scenery, is just use whatever you have, because scenery should give you some height, it should give you a way to block line of sight, and it should give you obstacles like putting, cutting out, from a piece of paper like this, just cut out a shape and say this is a muddied area, so it's difficult to walk here, it's cost more movement to walk in here, or whatever. It's pretty quick and simple. So if you don't want to make your own terrain or buy it or whatever, so for the game itself, there's no buy-in, but the miniatures, I would say set aside about $100 to $150 to get started, which is a lot. So the best thing is, of course, to find someone who already plays the game and play a few games with them. But then you also run into the whole problem of people who already play the game are usually, and especially if they played long enough to have a lot of miniatures that you use, they're usually also good at playing the game. So, yeah. Anyway. So, just adding in the last small mistakes before I can hopefully finish this model up and shade it. I mean, I like to let the shades sit for quite a while to make sure they're properly dried up before I start highlighting on top of them. I've learned the hard way that you should not start highlighting until the shades are fully dried, because you'll just drag the shade out. That's gonna get that messes up the paint job. So, well, at least she got some color on her today. Oh, the gun. We need some. I think we need some dark brown. There's actually no fully dark brown on this model yet. So what do we have? There we go. So yeah. So I'm just gonna go for the gun details and some of the other things. I'm just gonna use charred brown, which is almost dark enough to kind of be black, but not quite. So let's just get that in there. And then I may not actually shade this because it is already pretty dark. I mean, that's one of the different techniques for doing highlighting and shading on models, and the ones I'm gonna list here are by no means the only ones. These are just some of the ones, and some of the ones I normally use. Classic is to give it your model a base coat, kind of like what I'm doing here, except dark brown, and then just wash it with appropriately shaded and colored washes and the wash is a thin down paint that will set in the recesses of the model, so you get a darker effect almost for free, I would say, in various areas of the miniature. Now, when you're doing the shading, it will also give sort of a glaze over all the color you hit with the shade. So if I were to give a, let's say, dark green shade to her turquoise hair, I would actually tint the turquoise and change it from turquoise to a more sort of greenish tone, which is usually what you want to do, because after you've shaded and the shade is done, you apply brighter colors to the raised areas. So you use the shade to fill in the recesses, and you then build up the highlights manually. Another way of doing it that I've used in the past with pretty okay success is that you actually, again, base coat your entire model. I need a thinner brush for this. You base coat your entire model, the colors you want, and then you just dry brush it, entire model, from working upwards and stroking the brush down. Then you dry brush it with pure white over any color you've made. Doesn't matter if it is red or yellow or blue or green, whatever. Just dry brush it rather heavily with white. You should still be able to actually see the base color underneath, but you should also have sort of a white dusting that is, again, like the cenital highlights. That would actually probably also be a way of doing it with an airbrush. I've not tried that yet, but now I feel like I have to. But then the dry brush, once that is done, you'll have a very dusty looking miniature, and then you apply shades to it. So you take colored shade or thin down paint and just paint it with that, because then you'll actually get, and they should not be as dark as you might use with a normal shade. They should just be more or less normal tone. And then the dry brushed white areas will serve as the highlights, but since they get tinted, like I explained before, with the normal shade, then they will actually be sort of a very bright yellow or a light blue or whatever color you use. And you'll have the darker areas will not be going towards black. You'll actually get a fairly light miniature or bright, which can give a cool effect. I'll try to see if I can find one of my old models and show it on a later stream. So, but the other thing that I'm doing here is to, instead of painting a sort of medium brown and then shading it with either black or a really dark brown, I just start with a dark brown color, and then later on I'll just build up the highlights from there. So I'm actually kind of painting in the shade right now, as it were, and then I'll be working up toward the brighter colors to define the details here. That is, those are sort of the three main techniques I use, not counting the contrast colors, which basically do both the highlighting and the shading in one go, which is why it's a really cool product. If anyone haven't seen how contrast paints actually work, just let me know and I'll do a quick test on another model. I have one model within reach that is my test model. It's an old orc from Warhammer Underworlds, and he's been subjected to a lot of experiments by now. It's been painted over a few times here and there, but I find that it is very useful to have a model where you can just say, is this the right color? I mean, I could have done that with the turquoise to see how it would look when it was painted on the white primed model, but I didn't. I felt comfortable enough just going straight for her hair here. So, but yeah, I have him here. If you're a regular, you have seen him before. I recently reprimed him and then just been trying out different stuff. There's some airbrushing effect with the blue. I really need to get my camera sorted out. But yeah, stuffs. So much stuffs. But pretty boy. Yeah, Modifian, you are absolutely right. He is a very pretty boy. The little orc. I should name him at some point. I mean, he deserves this. she, I don't even know. Do we have anyone with appropriate knowledge to give me the right pronoun for this orc, or should I just call it an it? I don't know. But anyway, this is actually all of the white areas on this one here. Oh, so frost orc. Yeah, I mean the bluish tint. Let me actually check this because there are some things going on that might. Did that make it look? Yep, I think that that worked. If you look at the color comparisons here, you should actually now be able to see that these are indeed 4 different colors. Yeah, that was just a setting on my camera. Cool. I don't know why it was completely off. But anyway, now that we have him, while she dries off completely, let's have some fun. Let's mess him up a little bit more. And to show it, we have some chainmail here on the back. And the texture you can see here is actually the detail from the model itself. And they'll be quite good at showing what happens when you use the contrast paints. But to give it a little bit more, make it more visible, why don't we that was odd. I had some black on my wet palette that was fine yesterday, but it's completely dried up. It's been there for about a week. Now it's dried up. But actually, to do it, let's do a. See, this is the kind of thing I do with my my miniatures once in a while. Let's paint this one here. Let's just paint this part up here, the top half here, red, all the way into the recesses. It gets red. Just want to show off a small effect, and for our, yes, I lick my brushes, I say that often. For the other part here, we're just going to do a quick dry brush with the red over on this side here. Again, it's just a dummy model, test model, so we don't need to be careful about where we hit. I'm just going to do a quick dry brush here. So you can see it's now dry brushed on the left side here, which will show a little bit of the effect on the when we apply the contrast paint in a little bit. So when that is dried up completely, which is it isn't yet, we're gonna need a color. We could go green. Let's just do the turquoise over here. I mean, we already have the blue stuff going. Let's continue with the blue. I just want to put it on, with something that is basically not. It has a little bit of blue left on the top here, but some completely red colored, some dry brushed red, and some white. And you can see how it flows into the recesses differently and shows the original colors through the contrast paint. At least that is the theory we're going for. Yeah, not quite there yet. Then you know what we can do? We can always hydrate. So cheers. And yeah, no, this is just plain water. And I reuse the bottles, so I don't normally drink bottled waters, but at work, I think there's something with the water quality or whatever. So there we always have the bottled waters. What I do is after I've used them, I just bring the bottles home so I can use them here as to drink from. So I try to be a little bit sensible about it. So anyway, think it's almost dried down. So what you want to do is you want to take your fairly large brush for the contrasts. I'm going to overdo it a little bit and take a very large size 4 brush here, because it's going to make me slap it on a little bit more generously, and just do it here. So you can see how it fills in. Fills into all the recesses. In that sense, I mean, this is also one of the brighter ones, the turquoise here. But you do get sort of both you get the shading effects. But you also get a lot of tint to it. But if you do it up here, this is where it's going to be interesting. I'm just messing up the miniature. And the concept with the contrast paints is slap on a lot of it and just let it sit. But what you can see here is that the red actually shines through quite a bit. Maybe see a little bit better in here. This looks really bad because it's not a good mix of colors. But if we do it over here instead, we should get some interesting results, which we kind of do. So yeah. So there is that. I mean, up here, it's the red shines through pretty much as bright as it was before. The dry brushed red is... Yeah, Modifian, that's kind of the, you know me, that's the way it goes. Looks really bad because it's not good. That is the story of how I was taught to think when I was a kid. If it is not perfect, it is worthless. Anyway, that was a small digression showing you some contrast effects. And again, this is a really bright contrast paint. You can always do some of the brighter ones. Why don't we slap some? See, another really bright, actually the bluish tint in his axe, the frost effect I went for, was a thinned down contrast. An even brighter one that I borrowed from a friend when I painted some of his miniatures. But if we take... Let's try to take one of the... Let's go... We go purple. Let's go red. Let's go for the red one. And again... I'm actually going to take a slightly smaller brush. I'm just going to do up the front of his plate armor here. Now I have a lot of the red contrast paint here on my brush. That's fine. I'll just spread it out. I'm gonna see how that one works. Should be able to get the effect in a lot better. And after this, I'll move on with the Monster Hunter. She should be properly dried. So yeah. Now what we have here is the red here. For some reason it didn't actually do what it should do. I don't know why. Sometimes it helps to thin down the contrast as well with some medium, mixing medium, so it gets more sort of a flowy effect. Anyway, this goes to show that a lot of people, when the contrast came out, a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, a lot of people started talking about how they would be good for beginners. But a lot of people also, when they tried them, said that it's not necessarily good for beginners, painting wise, because it works in quite specific ways. So it's a little tricky to actually get them just right. Anyway, on to... she needs a name. So I think the thing to start out with is, again, our trusty old shade, Nuln Oil shade. And yes, it's just a matter of getting it done. I'm gonna be really I'm gonna cheat and just do the bandoliers with the black shade as well. I'm gonna pop in some other shade tone for her, some of the army painted tones for her. It's called skin. Black is a little bit too heavy a color to shade down from the skin tone I used here, so that wouldn't work. But it can work quite nicely for the browns, and surprisingly enough, I got really surprised when I learned this, that black is a really good shade for red. As you will hopefully see pretty soon, when this starts flowing a bit more nicely. Now, when applying shades, and actually that also is even more so for the contrast paints, you have to work fairly quickly, because once it starts to dry and settle, it gets really messy if you start trying to fix it or go over it again when it's only half dried, because then you will leave some essentially pretty visible and nasty brush strokes. This up here should not be as heavily shaded. So this right now. Doesn't matter if we get a little bit on the gun itself. That will just help a little bit later on. Remember to get the gun holsters. So Modivian says that it looks like he's been eviscerated. I'm guessing that would be the orc from before. And yeah, I mean he's been treated a little roughly. Once I'm done using him as a test model, I should either strip the paint and do a new really nice paint coat for him, or just send him off to retirement on a warm island somewhere. Okay, so I can actually see that I missed a spot all the way in under her arm, between the gun holster and her arm. But just dumping in some black shade is gonna make the area really dark. So even though it's not in the right color, based on the color scheme and the model details and all that, when it's on the table, it's just gonna look like a dark area, and that means it's just gonna be a shadow. And if you don't look too closely, you'll never see that it is the wrong color underneath. Again, we're not trying to win any prizes here. We are trying to get some painted models on the table. Now we have to be a little bit careful that we don't suddenly put a lot of black ink out into her turquoise hair. Now for the fun part, the underside of the dress. And when doing the highlights later on, I'm not going to be highlighting the underside of her dress. Because again, the light is supposed to, with the lighting techniques I use, the light is assumed to be coming from on top, or trying to mimic, simulate that it's coming from on top. So just having, you know, the red base color and then the black shadows in some of the parts is gonna be good enough for this level of painting. Sabias asks if I regret the turquoise. No, but as we talked about earlier, I actually think it goes quite well with her hair. So no regrets on that part. Which actually surprises me, I have to admit. First, when I saw the color, I was actually sort of trying to find an excuse for painting on a different model. But I actually think it's going to work quite nicely. And the last thing to shade here will be her boots. Shading down the boots is actually a place where you can see how the black shade here does a lot to tint the I probably can't see it. Oh, be nice to Corpse. But yeah, he succeeded. I mean, he's good. He knows a lot about color theory, so he just helped me out. But of course, now that Corpse has revealed to us that he knows about color theory, I think we expect to see some painting, or at least some kind of art from him as well. Yeah, well, Corpse, you should have thought about that before starting to talking about and lecturing us and teaching me stuff about color theory. Because now I know that you actually do some stuff. So what do you do, Corpse? Or maybe Sabias can rat you out and let us know what kind of art Corpse is doing. What would be my guess? You became VIP because I think you and one of the other guys, I can't remember who, one of the guys from from Rex and Miss Camillion's streams, you and one of the others were the ones who put me above the 50 followers. So you were one of the ones who made it possible for me to get affiliated. So thank you for that. That makes you a VIP to me. So, but still, I didn't figure out what color to use, of shade to use on her hair. See, we have but that is where Bo comes in. Bo, why are you already covered in paint? Bo, I'm not paying you to be covered in paint. I'm paying you to be white so I can test out things on you. So why don't you just... You know, I think it's not unreasonable, is it, to assume that models automatically reprime themselves whenever you just put them back down? I think they should do that. That would be kind of them. Bo, Sabias, this one here is my test model. Beauregard, I don't know, maybe. Our pretty boy, Bo. So yeah. Any resemblance to living or dead people are, of course, entirely by accident and sheer luck. or whatever. Standard disclaimer. A French orc. Oh, he has style. So he's eating finger rolls and croissants and all that kind of thing. No, but we have a green tone here. Just get a feel for that. Let's see, how will it look next to the turquoise? I think it might work. Also, why do all my brushes get one and only one hair sticking out at the side? It's not like 2 or 3 or 4. It's a single hair. It just annoys me. I mean, if it was all of it, I could just chuck the brush and say that it's done. It's dead. But it's not. It's only a single one, so... Well, Modifian, I think you've just been called out. I can see why you would fall for this dude here. This little person, thingy. So yeah. So, still drying down a little bit. Maybe I can just quickly shade down her... Yeah, I should be able to shade her. Let's actually give her... I'm gonna shade down the skin parts. And for that, I'm gonna go... Actually, I'm gonna go with the light tone because it is a little bit more red than the flesh wash from Army Painter. And it's not as dark as the other ones, and I want to keep her sort of fairly have it, the red tint, so she doesn't look pale or sick. I painted one of the other guys in the family, someone called Papa Loco. I specifically wanted him to look sick and pale. Simp? Is that a Twitch banned word? I don't know. I don't know anything about that. So yeah. So no, but this one here, just gonna quickly just shade it, and then we can test what shade to use on Bow for the turquoise. And once we know if the green one will work well, then we can shade her, and she can just sit here and dry up nicely until the next stream, where we'll just finish her. And again, here, especially in the face, you can see how much it means for to add the shade when it just sinks into the eye sockets. Which reminds me of the point that I don't paint eyes anymore. I don't even try. Because in my experience, it is always worse, the end result is always worse when I try to paint in the eyes than when I don't do it. We just leave the empty hollow sockets looks better than what I can ever accomplish, even with a magnifying glass. Yeah. So, let's just see here to do the arm. Yeah, so. I think that covered most of it. I mean, her arms, the way they're sculpted, I think they actually did a pretty good job of following the lines arms actually have out in the real world. So she's not. She's muscular, no doubt about it, but it's not the over-exaggerated citadel muscles. Okay, so while her arms dry off, let's see if, yeah, he's ready here. So let's go for the green. End it up over here. See how that ends up looking. There we go. Down here. I think that works pretty well. Don't know how much you can see. I mean, it darkens it down towards green, but also actually makes it dark enough that it's... You know what? We're just gonna go for it. I'm gonna get some more shade out, because otherwise we're gonna run out. And this will be the last bit we're doing for tonight. And after that, we'll find someone we can go raid, see how it's going. Now, it will get a lot greener than the turquoise when I'm doing this again. It's going to be really, really visible. That's been shaded. But next time, when it's properly dried out, I will do some highlighting on her hair, bringing it back to turquoise. At least that's the plan. If I can actually pull it off, that's an entirely different matter. Good. Modifian says that if Bo do stand in for her, he'll be at least as witty. Okay, Emily, see you. Enjoy. I don't know if I'll make your stream tonight. If not, have a fun night. I hope you win. I mean, here I'm just trying to correct a little bit. After you apply the shade, it will start to pool into the recesses, and some places it can be a little bit too much. Like it's here, because I don't actually want it to be fully green. But yeah. I don't know how much is visible. You can see the pools. And again, it doesn't help that the miniature is still wet. The paint's still wet, so... Yeah, see you as well, John. Enjoy. So yeah. So anyway, we did get some color on her. As you can see, again, the red dress got a lot of sort of a dirty, scruffy look to it from the black shade, but it's still, at least to me, clearly red. So, and the recessed areas, you can see it on the front here, and on the I don't know, the frills, is that? I don't know, probably not called that. Down here, the folds at the edges, you can see it really clearly where the black shade has pooled. Again here, going down the back, you can see the lines a lot more clearly. And then when I highlight it up with the red, which is going to be tricky because I'm still learning the technique, and this is going to be the largest part of a miniature I've ever actually had to highlight, and it's going to be very clear if I mess it up. But that will be something we do for the next time. But yeah, we didn't get anything done on him, but I don't care. I will just quickly wrap up my stuff. But before we start looking for someone to raid, we need to do a little bit more of shout out. Because we have my trusty web palette all wrapped up. I said the Incorrigible Party, incorrigibleparty.com. Go take a look, go listen to them, they're absolutely wonderful. If you want to see some more art streams, I have it on absolutely not good authority that Corpse will be doing some art for us. Otherwise, keep an eye out for Seawolf Art here on Twitch. She's painted this one. I got one of her stickers. I also have one of the A4 paints or prints of it. She does some really, really nice art as well, as does Miss Chameleon whenever she actually streams. So yeah, I really like having people doing art. Anyway, I will go see if I can find someone to raid. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in chat. The Tabletop Live Network. Sure, Book of Nerds right now. I'm not entirely sure I am subscribed to them. But let's go take a look. Oh yeah, I am. Well, Bill, if you recommend them, I have zero doubt that they're wonderful people. Anyway, this has been a very lovely Sunday playing cribbage. Isn't cribbage actually a fairly old kind of game? Also, why is Twitch so slow at loading anything? And trying to find it. Book of Nerds. Let's see if we can find Book of Nerds. Okay, I'm actually trying to get the raid to work, but it takes forever for the Twitch interface to actually work. So here we go. There we go. There we have Book of Nerds. So again, sorry about that. That was a little confusing, but thank you for joining me tonight for some more streaming. It's been absolutely wonderful. Love having you guys around. Thank you for being active and chatting. As part of what makes me want to come back to these streams other than painting, it is your lovely company. I absolutely love seeing you. So until we see each other the next time, have fun, stay safe. Please don't get infected with corona. Make sure you help stop the spread. Behave well, don't be idiots, but I know you're not. Bye now.
See now.